Hello, I'm Janet Lenihan, Dean of the Frank G. Zarb School of Business at Hofstra University. Welcome to Inside the Z-Suite, featuring current topics and talks with business leaders across every industry. In this episode, we're focusing on women making a mark in traditionally male-dominated fields. According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor and Statistics, women make up approximately 11% of our nation's construction industry. That's over 1 million females working in various roles in a predominantly male-driven business. Our guest today represents the 9% of women in construction management and is among the 1% serving as the president or CEO of their company. As the second-generation owner and a president of the Velez organization, Elizabeth Velez is a leader and a trailblazer for women and people of color in the construction industry. Her impact at the helm of a successful New York-based company started by her father 50 years ago is evident in the hundreds of projects she has spearheaded during her career spanning 3 decades, including more than 600 units of affordable housing in the Bronx and Harlem, and more than $20 billion worth of educational, healthcare, and large-scale initiatives through New York. A recognized leader in equity and inclusion, she keeps her finger on the pulse of our region's communities through service on key industry and powerful advocacy boards, such as the New York Building Congress, the New York City Economic Development Corporation, the New York City Police Foundation, Catholic Charities of the Archdiocese of New York, the Board of ACE Mentor of New York, and New York City Department of Business Services Advisory Board, and as a governor-appointed member of the Metropolitan Transportation Authority. A Hofstra University Alumni Award recipient, she earned a BBA and an MBA from the Zarb School of Business, where she remains deeply involved as a member of the Dean's Advisory Board and an important mentor to our students. Elizabeth, welcome inside the Z-Suite.
Thank you so much, Jean Lenihan. It's always amazing to be back home at Hofstra.
Well, we'd love to welcome you here all the time. As the founder of the Velez organization, your father introduced you to the construction industry at a very young age. Did you always know that you were going to follow in his footpaths, or did your career interest evolve over time?
So that's a great question, and I get that one often. And I have to tell you, being here at Hofstra reminds me of one of their benefits, what they gave to me coming here. So no, I wasn't planning on staying in the construction industry, though I grew up in it. And so during the summers, even as a young girl, I loved being on construction sites. While I was going to undergrad here at Hofstra, I was working for the company as well. I would take 2 buses to our office that was in Long Island at the time, down Hempstead Turnpike, and work at the office. And I was instrumental in responding to a proposal on behalf of the company, on behalf of the Velez organization. At the same time, I was working with Hofstra Center for Career Design and Development, and I had 4 job offers that I got out of the center. 1 was in manufacturing, 1 was in hospitality, and 2 were in business and insurance. All great, phenomenal job offers. And at the same time, that proposal I had been working on for our company, we won. And so my father asked me to give 6 months notice. I don't know if anyone ever asks for or receives 6 months notice, but when your father asks you, you have to say yes. I ended up giving him that 6 months, telling, it was Aetna, actually, who I had selected to go to work for. I said, please, I'll see you in 6 months. And they said, okay, we understand. And I don't know, that was 37 years ago.
That's great. Right? that often, happens. Best laid plans, as they say, right? You think you're going to go one direction and you go in another. And so I'm sure in the role that you are in and in the industry that you are in, you often find yourself as the only woman in the room, and especially being the only woman in the room and running the meeting, if you will, right, as the person in charge. And so can you talk a little bit about how you overcame being among the few females in a very male-dominated field?
The first person to tell me that women didn't belong in construction is actually someone who has always been very near to me in my heart, and it was my father. He said to me, just understand that women don't belong in construction. And I know when he said that to me at a very tender young age, I think I was 21, I know he was setting, I believe, the expectations for me. He wanted to make sure that if I failed, that there was a reason for it. Meanwhile, we all know that being a woman in the room doesn't mean you're going to fail. As a matter of fact, for me, I think it was part of my success. He was just trying to set those expectations. And in many other instances, I get verbal cues and even some nonverbal cues about it being strange that there's a female in the room. But I've been doing this for a long, long time, for over 3 decades. I think earned my right, even at the age of 20, 21, to come in. One time, I was selected for a selection panel for a very large project, actually here in Long Island. And the selection panel picks which team was going to do this work. And it was a $3 billion project. I was one of the only businesses, non-agency people on the selection panel. And another member of the selection panel actually came up to me before we began and said, "Do you know why you were selected for this panel? Why you're on this selection team?" And I said, because my parents did not raise me to be a fool, I said, "Why don't you tell me why you think I'm on this panel?" And he said to me, "Because you're a woman." And it wasn't done in a positive way. So I served on that selection panel. I had a wonderful experience, as many of my experiences are. And it was, quite poetic justice or karma when I was later appointed to the board of the agency for which he heads a department. And so things come full circle. You need to be very nice in this world because you never know when you might say something to someone and it may come back. And I've always been very professional with him. But being in the room in a male-dominated industry, I think when I was younger, I think I felt like I had to be more male or less female, however you want to call it. And I think it took me some time to realize that my voice was unique. My communication was on point. I had the skills, I believe, the foundation of those skills, a lot of it coming from here at Hofstra, to be able to give me the confidence to excel. No matter if you're the only of whatever in a room, you have to be strong in your convictions. And I think knowing my industry, loving what I do, and being passionate about it has allowed me to, kind of transcend. But I'm still often the only woman, or one of the few, in the room.
We certainly have made cracks in the glass ceiling, right? But we haven't broken through yet. But I want to pick up because I think that story is really so incredible in terms of you took a negative and you really turned that into almost a motivator for yourself, right? To prove that not only do you deserve to be in the room, right? But that you ultimately ended up becoming on the board of that agency as well.
Right.
And so many women suffer from imposter syndrome, where you look around the room and you think, I shouldn't be here, right? Why am I here? Or I'm not good enough to be here. And so you talked about the confidence. How do you build that confidence? How do you overcome those voices in your head that say, you're not good enough?
There's a saying, I think, that a lot of people like to say nowadays, and it's fake it till you make it. And I don't much like that saying, to be honest with you, because I don't think we're faking it. And I think that we've made it in many ways. There will always be those moments where you realize that you're approaching a bucket list item that you never even thought should be on your bucket list, or those pinch me moments where you say, am I really doing this? Am I really in the room? Am I really making a change, a difference? And you have to own it and rise up to it. You're not faking it. You're actually coming into your own, and you're owning it. You're owning that moment. And the more times that you do that, the more times that you challenge yourself, challenge those butterflies that you feel in your stomach, the more you know that you can do even more and even more. And to be honest with you, Dean, if I'm not feeling those butterflies in my stomach on a regular basis, then I am living way too easy. I want to feel that way.
That's terrific, and something we should all try to ascribe to. And it's interesting because, as society, we talk a lot about the pay gap, right? And that women are paid, 83 cents on the dollar for men. But interestingly, in the construction industry, it's actually much more closer. Women are paid around 95 cents to a male. And so I'm just wondering, how can we get more women attracted to going into the construction business, since it seems to be a much more level playing field for those that actually break in?
I don't think the pandemic did us any great service. However, it has allowed us to be a little bit more flexible in our approach. And I think the construction industry kind of aligns with women's careers wonderfully in that regard. In a construction career, a woman could come in and out, I believe, a lot more easy than some other careers where they could pick up and leave and go raise a family or take off some time after maybe having a baby or taking care of loved ones or whatever it might be, and be able to kind of come back in and not really miss a beat. So the flexibility of career options, I think, is wonderful for women. But also the construction industry in and of itself is a lot more than just construction. And so we have amazing, strong women, rock stars that are actually building in the trades. But we also have, and Hofstra has such a wonderful engineering school, opportunities for women to come into the project management side of construction. So the convening, the visioning, the designing of projects. And so for us at our organization, we actually have a majority female management team. That is not certainly common. We've already established that in the construction industry. We also have a majority minority management team. And so I believe our approach, our philosophy, and I think it's our special sauce in many ways to us winning, is that we look like the communities in which we build. And so for women that are looking for real different careers, real interesting careers, careers that are changing all the time because all of our projects are different and unique, it's a wonderful career to come into, and one that not a lot of men or women necessarily think of joining. We're trying to get the word out there with industry associations and even meet people where they start, like in high school and in middle school, and with STEM programs and STEAM programs. Please come in, take a look at this industry, because it is an industry where you can raise a family many times on one income.
It's so incredible when you talk about your own management team and how intentional you've been in building that, right? Not only is it a lot of women represented, but again, people of color. How important is leadership in any organization, but in an industry that's male-dominated, for the women leaders to stand up and really be intentional about breaking some of those barriers that exist?
You said the magic word, and it's intentional. Intentionality means everything. I believe I practice what I preach. I also believe that I don't have a lot of preconceived notions against certain folks. So when I get resumes in, I look at them for who they are, what they've done, and what I think that they could bring to the team. I don't look at the first names or the last names. Truly, I don't look at zip codes and see where they went. I also don't hyper-focus on necessarily the educational attainment in terms of where the school was, because we've got wonderful education programs all throughout our area. It is intentionality. It is looking at opening up doors for folks to come in. It is also mentoring and ensuring that I leave hopefully a legacy behind that my father kind of inspired in me in terms of opening up the door. If you don't find a door open, then find a window and then bring somebody along with you. I stand on so many shoulders of folks that have come before me, and I plan on bringing along many others to, kind of come and stand behind me too. So we really try to give people an opportunity to grow and love an industry. And by the way, also go on and do other things. I think over our years, over half a century, I don't know the number, and I really have to look at this, but we've spawned a lot of entrepreneurs to go out and actually start their own construction businesses. And for me, that is the best satisfaction, truly.
And talk about a legacy, Elizabeth. You have already left a legacy. Your impact, certainly at the Zarb School, but through the industry, is just incredible. And, one of the things I love to talk to you about is just how much the industry has changed. I think it has provided opportunities for maybe, non-traditional type of construction people to emerge in the industry. And so one of the ways that we've talked about is just how the bidding and the pitching for different projects has changed. And you recently had shared with us that you earned the bid to build the Hip Hop Museum in New York City, which of course is a highly coveted and prestigious project. So kudos to you for that. And I know you really had to change your approach to business development as you go to pitch for these products. So can you talk a little bit about how you do that? How do you make sure your company is distinguished from a very competitive marketplace?
I think it's just the way that we are all pitching and winning projects these days and work these days. Doesn't matter if you're selling pizza or hopefully, building the hip hop museum as we're doing. And thank you for the kudos on that. I'm so excited to be a part of a genre that came out of here, out of New York, and has been such a cultural phenomenon over the last 51 years. We pitch different now. So back in the day of construction, it used to be if you were the low price, you'd win the project. It was a numbers game. We called it a rip and read. Your bid was low, you won the project. These days, our clients want to see what else are you bringing to the table, because the reality is many people can build and build well. But what distinguishes us from the rest of the pack? It really is finding that special sauce, your specialness, and bringing it. It also is making every client feel like they are the most unique client to you. Because they are, right? Everyone's coming with their own unique requirements. So that understanding, showing your client that you understand what they want to achieve and that you are actually maybe even more excited, perhaps, than they are to be able to, in my case, build something for them, to have their dreams and visions become a reality. So with us, my team will come in and I try to be the biggest cheerleader behind our team and get them all ready to go and excited about this vision for our clients. That's what it is. So it's really thinking out of the box in terms of marketing. And so I was a management major here at Hofstra, but we had to take our marketing classes. Out of the box thinking to be able to win is so essential. And so now we do things like make videos, and we make videos with our project team. And on the case of the Hip Hop Museum, we actually had everyone talk about hip hop. It was the least construction-y video we've done, but this is why we want this. This is why we want to please take your dream and make it tangible reality. And that was the special sauce. We were actually told that we had the most flavor. I'll take flavor every day of the week.
That's terrific. And when you think about facilities, right, and buildings, they really are the structures that support the culture that the company wants to build. And so you embracing their culture must bring them a lot of solace, right, in that you're going to be a partner in this project with them. But how do you really teach your team to listen to customers like that? How do you develop that in people?
I think you have to look for that spark. So when we hire people to come in, I want to feel like they want to be a part of my dream, my company dream. I want them to be a part of what I hope to feel like is our family moving forward. Because companies, as we find out, corporations that we work for, or even the ones that we start as entrepreneurs, it very much is a family affair. Family affair in that we all have our role in the family, what we do. I would hope that the folks that we bring on, and they do, are part of that family. We're all kind of moving together in the same way. We have that same kind of love, I hope, for what we're doing and what we're hoping to achieve. It's supporting unique visions, unique ideas, innovative ideas. I am so wonderfully astounded all the time by how brilliant our next generation is that's coming in. I give them license to kind of have fun and figure out a way, what's best on this client? What would be your approach here? How would you think that we could sell and win this project? Stop thinking about the numbers. Stop thinking about that we can build, because we can build. What else is there? And so empowering those that work for you is a great way for them to feel like they belong to that family and actually want to kind of row together and get better and bigger and do more.
Empowerment is so important in organizations, right? That's what really drives people, motivates people. I'm going to switch a little bit. I want to get your perspective on how is commercial real estate changing in New York? I mean, now you're building these buildings. I'm assuming no more cubicles and no more big offices, right? A totally different vibe. Right. And then we're also hearing with remote work, there's less need for commercial real estate and they're being, transitioned to residential. So what's happening out there in New York City?
It's an interesting time in New York City. First of all, never count New York City out because we are resurging in so many ways. New York City is. We're a little over 54%, I think, of level of full occupancy in our commercial real estate, our offices. At the peak, before the pandemic, I think it was around 76%. So each year we're getting a little bit closer. But the pandemic, if it gave us any kind of silver lining, it was that it allowed for us to be more hybrid in how we approached the workscape. And so what I'm finding is in construction, if you're in the fields, we have to be there full time because we're watching the work that's being created. But what I'm seeing with our clients and what I'm seeing in some instances with some of my business units within our company, I've created a more flexible workspace. And so it's made it easier. I think people are kinder and gentler now, coming in, maybe not having to do the grind every single day. What I'm seeing with commercial real estate is that there is a rethinking of the work environment. And so a lot more amenity space now, a lot more ventilation, and if they can, incorporate outdoor elements. This all goes back to if you think about the pandemic and being kind of pent up, wanting fresh air, wanting areas to just kind of relax and take breaks. And so we're finding a whole new industry in commercial real estate where we're retrofitting offices to be more of that kind of open culture, open space, lots more amenities, lots more break rooms. And the break rooms are getting better and better too, with games and little areas where you can have impromptu business conversations. We're seeing a change, but we're seeing people wanting to come back in many ways. They want to be a part of that kind of unit. They don't want to miss out on what's happening, those discussions that are happening. And so while we're seeing some commercial real estate, especially in downtown, be converted to residential, I think that's a function also of the fact that we really need living spaces and residences to come in. And so I love the adaptive reuse of these buildings. But more to come on that for all of our students today that are coming out. Be open to a hybrid work environment, but also be open to coming in, because that is really the way I think you can best scale your own future and your own development is by being around other folks that you can learn from, emulate, listen to, and just have discussions with.
That is great advice. It's something that we preach in the building to our students because we always say, if you're not in front of the boss isn't going to remember to call you at home, right?
That's right.
But they're going to call you in if they see you in front of you to get you in on that project. And so it is really great advice. And it's interesting to hear how the building, the space that you're designing is actually supporting the welcoming environment and hopefully helping companies bring folks back in to the office more, because nothing creates better culture, right, than having that
Absolutely.
Colliding of people working together.
Absolutely.
So that brings me to the question, I have to ask this because, of course, you've been a member of the Traffic Mobility Review Board and you had recommended the congesting pricing. And I know after the governor halted the initiative, you and a couple of your colleagues wrote a op-ed piece in the Daily News. And so considering that companies are looking to bring people back, can you talk a little bit about, where do you see congestion pricing? What role will it play in terms of the future of the city? And do you think it'll positively impact the city and its economy, or are there some concerns about its impact?
Being on the congestion pricing board was probably one of the hardest, but also one of the most rewarding things that I had to do, because it's tackling really tough issues that are affecting our society. It's only been done a handful of times in the world, and we would be the first state in the United States to take this on. The reality is that we have environmental concerns. In New York City, we have high levels of pollutants moving around the central business district, which is south of 60th Street. River to river, all the way to the bottom of Manhattan is horrendous. There's no other word for it. We are back to pre-pandemic levels of just vehicular movement, or maybe not movement, because you can't get around. You really can't go from.
Yes, I've sat in those traffic jams. Yep.
So just think about if you have an emergency and you need an emergency vehicle to get to you for whatever reason, be it police or fire or an ambulance. They're stuck in that traffic too. And so there's some real threats to our society. So it's pollution, it's movement, but it's also having a strong transportation system. If I sound like I'm a big fan of a strong transportation system, at the end of the day, it's because I am. Moving around in the city is best if you are on a bus or if you're on the subway. New York has the largest, in my mind, one of the best transportation systems in the world because we operate 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Without congestion pricing, you're not going to have that investment in that infrastructure to keep it growing and to keep it in a state of good repair. Where I think there were some decisions made and there was some angst over, the cost of a toll to pay for or to mitigate those negative parts of congestion in the city. I think ultimately at the end of the day, it will be enacted. I'm sure hoping it is enacted because I think it's something that is an idea whose time has come. I love hard ideas where it takes real leadership to kind of get behind. And I thought New York was there. I believe they still are there to be able to make a change for the world to see that we can do something about pollution. We can do something about the environment, and we can create resilient revenue sources to build an even better transportation system. So more to come on that. There were concerns about low-income sectors being able to afford coming into the city. But I would suggest to you that a real solid transportation system and one that you pay under $3 to go someplace, that is who our local income communities typically use, transportation, mass transit. Finding your own unique voice on something like the transportation board, I knew that for me, it was low-income New Yorkers. I knew that I needed to represent them in my mind because I had a seat at that table. And I'm real proud of the work that I did in ensuring that we put in additional measures that low-income New Yorkers would actually be able to pay less at the end of the day than other folks coming in. And that was done, we talked about leadership and intentionality, with intentionality, because I knew that there were some small business owners, especially, that to come into the city, they would need to be able to have a bit of more relief than others. And so if I had any unique stamp on the congestion pricing board, it was maybe that one.
Elizabeth, you have been a leader in so many ways. One of the things, I admire so many things about you, but one of the things I admire is just how much civic engagement is really a core part of who you are personally and of your business philosophy, and just even sharing just so passionately about why you support congestion pricing and kind of the long-term goals of it. Talk to us a little bit about why it's so important to you to be involved in our community in so many different ways, advancing so many underserved communities, maybe unseen communities. Why is that so important, and how does it inform your business?
We talk often that some folks have a side hustle. They might have a job on the side, and I guess ostensibly to create more income for them. I say there should always be a side hustle as it relates to volunteering. I had a great time with you at the Dean's Scholars Luncheon talking about how it's always been important to me to do more than just my 9 to 5, to feel like I was perhaps having a little bit of an impact on the world that I love around me so much. I found that in my volunteering that it's actually gone way beyond me hitting the pillow at night and sleeping really well and having my heart feel good about getting behind ideas, trends, or just really great programs. So many of them are nonprofit organizations. That's my side hustle, my side volunteer hustle. What I never realized was that it would actually be a driver for other business. I never thought that, I would be on the board with on some of these boards with influential folks, and it would actually open up doors on the construction side. That's always something that kind of surprises me. That's not why I go into something. It's one thing to have a job and work a job every day and hopefully love your job, but it's another to actually have that kind of side volunteering aspect. It just allows you to scratch whatever itch or make your heart beat a little bit harder for whatever you feel that you're passionate about. And so for me, it's been super important for really all my life to be able to do that. And I will continue and doing that. And by the way, I love being on the ZARB Business School Advisory Board, because it's those kind of ways too that I know that I could maybe bring my perspectives as a 50-something-year-old in New York City, rough and tumble industry, and come back to the ZARB Business School and just say, maybe this is what we should be thinking about with regard to visioning for our curriculum, or applauding all of the great work that we're putting in, all of the great programs that we're putting in, because they all make sense at the end of the day for folks that get to be my age and can proudly say they're a ZARB graduate.
Well, we are so grateful for you being on that board, and certainly your impact has just been significant and tremendous. So we're grateful for all you do for ZARB. But now we're getting to the point where it's time for me to ask you some questions, and these are meant to be rapid fire questions. And so I don't even want you to really think, just kind of tell us what comes to mind.
Mustard on my hot dog. I'm only kidding. Go ahead. You can answer.
All right. Are you ready?
You sure?
If you could trade places with anyone or anything, who, what would it be or why?
Oh, wow. That's really crazy. I would say Kamala Harris, because I would love to be the president.
You would be terrific. All right. What is your favorite work or household chore?
I love to bake. I love, love, love to bake. And so my family calls me Betsy Baker. Now, I don't like that terminology, but sea salt chocolate chip cookies are my
okay, I think that has
fan favorite.
I think that's a request for next time I see
Okay, you got it.
But what's your least favorite chore?
Oh, my goodness. I would say probably laundry. I would say probably
Never
laundry.
ending, right?
It
Yeah,
never
ending.
ends.
And who do you admire most in your life, and why?
Oh, wow. I would have to say, and just because he's so close to me, and we lost him in 2019, but it was my father, because he just had so many hills that he had to climb, and he was able to do it and excel and just create a company and a family. I have 6 sisters, keep us all together and comfortable. And so I think just because of the battles that he had to face in his own personal life, he's easily my fan favorite too.
I can tell you that he's very proud of you and the company that you grew from what he left you. So final question, and this is really especially for the students who are listening today. What's the key to success?
The first word that came to my mind, happiness. So if you are happy, if your core is happy, and this is personal life, it'll resonate in your professional life and beyond, and vice versa.
That is such great advice. And this whole conversation was just fantastic. So thank you to Elizabeth Velez for an inspirational discussion about your impact, your influence, and advocacy as a woman leading the way in the construction industry and in our communities. Thanks also to our show's producer, Adrian Stoller, and WRHU audio engineer, John Mullen, for your support. Be sure to tune in each week on the radio and online to WRHU 88.7 FM, Hofstra University, for a new episode of Inside the Z-Suite, or catch up with our show wherever you enjoy your podcasts. For more information about this program and the ZARB School of Business, please visit hofstra.edu/business. Until next time, I'm Janet Lenihan from Inside the Z-Suite.